Alright, welcome to Clarinet Q A Part 2. So if your question wasn't answered in the first video, it will most likely be answered in this video. So, let's dive right back into it. How do I get back to the comments? Leaf Boom asks, are there any good tricks or techniques that I can use to stop biting? It's a serious problem, please help. So biting comes from not having the correct embouchure set up. So to go over correct embouchure really quickly, your bottom lip folds over your bottom teeth like so to cushion the reed. The corners of your mouth come in kind of like you're saying ooh as you're playing. So your corners are in so that no air comes out. Your chin is pointed or flat. So it goes from this to like that. And your top teeth rest on the top of the clarinet mouthpiece. Maybe you came from playing saxophone first, which has a looser embouchure, so now you feel like you need to have sort of a death grip on the clarinet. So when you're biting, you're using mainly the muscles that close your jaw, and it's a lot in the teeth. So in order to alleviate that, you can play double lip, where you fold your top lip over your top teeth like this, and you play like that. I don't suggest doing that right away. It might also be because you're using a reed that is too hard, so you feel like you have to overcompensate by biting with your embouchure. So maybe try going a half size down or using a different reed strength. Another cause of biting is that you don't have enough mouthpiece in your mouth, so you might want to experiment with that. And you also want to make sure that you have a pretty good balance with your thumb when you're holding the clarinet, because sometimes people bite because they feel that the clarinet isn't super secure in their hands, so they bite it to stop it from like wobbling around. So try a couple different things. Experiment with the amount of mouthpiece that you're using, experiment with where the mouthpiece is sitting on your lip, make sure you're using the correct embouchure. If after some time you are still having issues, post a question in this video and I will try to come up with more ways that you can stop the biting issue. MD Zalian asks, how does one improve their ability to stay in tune? You're gonna need a tuner for this. Set a tuner on your stand and just play long tones over the entire range of the whole instrument from low to high so that you can see what the tendencies in your instrument are. So you might find that your throat tones are really, really sharp. You might find that your F is really flat but your G is really sharp. And throughout the whole range, then you can sort of start practicing on how to fix that in rehearsals and in your general practice session. Steve sort of follows up with that question saying, how do you develop the skill to hear whether you're flat or sharp? So that happens over time through practice, and another thing that you can do without a tuner is to set a drone. So a lot of times tuners or metronomes will have just one pitch that just holds out forever. So you want to take your instrument and play that pitch against the drone so you can see where you are in relation to it. And you also want to try to experiment playing other pitches around that same drone. Say the drone is on our C. So you're going to want to play a C on your clarinet to see where you are in relation. Try adjusting your mouth if you're out of tune. If it gets worse, go the other way. And then being able to tell if you're flat or sharp will just develop over time as your ear develops. When you're playing a C against a C drone, you'll be able to hear the intonation waves. They'll get faster the more out of tune you get, and slower the more in tune you get. So practicing that way, you'll be able to actually hear the sound waves becoming closer and closer together. You can also, against the C drone, play things like a major third up, so an E, or you can also play a G, or you can play any number of intervals against a drone to see where your clarinet sits against that one steady pitch. So those are a couple ways to practice intonation and to get better at hearing whether or not you're in tune and whether you're sharp or flat. Steve, you also asked about demonstrating the process for trimming and tweaking reeds that are too soft. That will most likely be an entire video because there's just so much information. But you can buy a reed clipper. Specifically when your reeds are too soft, that's when you have to trim down some of it. So they actually, you can buy a pretty cheap reed clipper to just clip the top off, or you can take sandpaper and very, very, very gently sort of go over the top of the reed. But there's a whole like reed tweaking video that I really want to do. So if your reed is really soft, either sandpaper or a reed clipper will do the trick in a pinch. And going back to MD Zalian, I hope I'm pronouncing that right. How do you practice difficult pieces? What are your ways of approaching certain sections that may be very fast or may require a lot of musicianship? This is also going to be a separate video, but my one thing when you're approaching a piece that's really difficult is to set goals. So if you want to learn a piece within a month, you have about 4 weeks, and you want to sort of divide it up. Like, okay, in this practice session today, I'm going to learn the first page, and you spend a lot of time on that first page. Maybe the next day you go over some of the passages that were giving you trouble the day before and go over those, sort of review the first page, and then start to learn the second page. When you have a goal-oriented approach to practicing, you are sort of thinking about your clarinet playing in a bigger picture where you have actual things that you want to achieve instead of just sort of practicing and hoping for the best. You have, certain points that you want to get to before progressing on. I hope that made sense. But again, practicing harder pieces, that's going to be a whole long video on how to practice diligently. But I would basically stick with set a goal and set smaller goals and reach those goals when you're practicing. Also, it helps to practice hard music closer to the beginning of your practice session so that you're not saving it for last when your brain and body are tired. You want to start fresh and you want to tackle the things that are hard. And so you want to expend most of your energy on the harder music, and if a piece is very rhythmically challenging, it will help a lot if you just sit with the music and just figure out the rhythms first. Be able to count through a piece without stopping. That way, when you get into a practice room with your clarinet, you're basically just learning the notes and the dynamics, and you won't get caught up with how to count the piece. I was playing the Varese Octet, which is a really rhythmically complicated piece, and I'll link it below so that you can listen to it. But I sat on my bed for an hour before I practiced, and I figured out how to count it so that when I went into the practice session, I wasn't frustrated by figuring out counting because I had already gotten that part of the practice out of the way. How do you stay confident and get rid of nervousness, especially in a solo situation? Aside from eating a banana, which has been scientifically proven to lower your heart rate, the best thing that you can do for yourself is be really, 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 really ridiculously prepared. You need to have practiced your part and know how it goes so that if somebody were to wake you up in the middle of the night, hand you your instrument, and tell you to play, you'd be able to play it. Hopefully that situation never happens because that's kind of creepy. And if you're not confident in your part, just pretend that you're confident and just go for it. The best piece of advice that somebody ever gave me, it was before my senior recital in high school. And I was like, yeah, I'm just like a little nervous because my recital is in like 2 hours. And he was like, well, you've already done all the practicing that you can, so now it's time to have fun with it. So if you think of it as more of an enjoyable activity than, oh my god, I might mess up, then just getting into the right headspace will help a lot. What up, pup? Is it unethical to ask a person their average salary? If yes, don't answer. If no, what is a musician's average salary in your perspective? Okay, so, oh man, it's not that it's unethical, and it's not that I don't want to share how much I make. It's that it varies so much from person to person. So a school music teacher who teaches every day will make a different amount than somebody who only teaches clarinet lessons, and somebody who directs a band will make a different amount than than an adjunct professor, and a freelancer will make a different amount than a professional orchestral musician. So it all kind of depends. In my situation, I have sort of pieced together income based on different jobs. So as I've mentioned before, I teach clarinet lessons at 4 different musical institutions. 2 of them are community music schools, one of them is a university, and one of them is an intensive community program that's with a youth orchestra. I also pick up gigs, and these gigs, depending on what they are, can range from, $50 to hundreds of dollars to even thousands of dollars. So depending on how much rehearsal is involved, the location, whether or not someone will pay for your travel, these all factor into how much you could get paid for a gig. Hopefully you get the picture. Hopefully that sort of answers the question. XX Wood Wind XX B flat asks, can you tell us your experiences playing the auxiliary instruments? So you may have noticed, or you may have found my channel based on my contrabass clarinet video. So I've played contrabass. I've actually played every single clarinet that exists, pretty much. My favorite is bass clarinet, and I play in a sextet right now that features B-flat clarinet and bass clarinet. I think my most interesting auxiliary instrument experience was when I played third clarinet in Mahler 1, because in the slow movement you go from an exposed solo on bass clarinet, and then you have maybe like 2 measures or 3 measures to change over to E-flat clarinet. So you go from playing this monster to this monster in a very short amount of time, and both passages are incredibly exposed. What is your favorite concert tradition? I don't really know what you mean by concert tradition. If you mean something that I personally do when I have a concert, it's sort of just create the best music that you can with the people around you. I like to say that if at every concert I can move one person to feel something, then I've done my job. Have you ever considered learning a new instrument, and which instrument? And that question comes from Cherry Lover 134. So I haven't really considered learning a new instrument. I think if I were to be able to start all over and pick a different instrument, it would either be cello or French horn, just because I really like lower sounding instruments, which is why I have like a slight obsession with bass clarinet. How much clarinet experience do you have? I started when I was 10, but I was seriously practicing. I would say that I've been really serious about it since I was 16. So I have about 12 years of really serious experience playing clarinet. So you can do the math to figure out how old I am. What are your plans for the future? Be in debt from student loans, probably. I really and truly love all of my jobs. I love all of my students. I love all of my coworkers. I love everything that I do. So as of right now, that's my future. I'm just incredibly happy with where I am in life right now. So I think I'm gonna stay like this for a little bit. There's only a few more left. So Juan, who's been watching my videos for a while, has a couple of questions. What is the hardest song to play on clarinet? Without a shadow of doubt, the Neilsen Clarinet Concerto. Just go listen to it. That's all I'm gonna say, and try to imagine yourself playing it, because it's the Neilsen Clarinet Concerto. I'm gonna put that in the description below, but in all of my years of experience playing clarinet, Neilsen Clarinet Concerto scares the shit out of me. Once you learn any piece that's difficult, though, it just becomes really super fun to play. So the Neilsen is difficult, and it's one of the hardest pieces of music out there, but it's also one of the most fun pieces of music to play once you get it. Will you do covers of songs or video game songs in the near future? Interesting, you should mention that. So I have recently been in touch with a friend of mine who I met when I was in my undergrad program at New England Conservatory. And he went to Berkeley, and we met on this random day and became Facebook friends. And so he contacted me a couple months ago asking if I wanted to be in a YouTube virtual orchestra. And he has arranged a bunch of video game songs. There's an Avengers song. There's a couple songs from Steven Universe that he got basically all the parts for, and is currently, as I'm saying this, is currently tackling this massive feat of editing everybody's parts and putting it together. Once that comes out, I'm going to do a short video just letting everybody know about his channel and that the songs are up, but as soon as those are available, I will let you know. I have gotten requests to do other songs, and they're literally by people that I've never heard of, and I've never heard of the song, so they're just, it's just, today's music is not a genre that I am super familiar with, so I don't think I'm going to be doing a whole lot of covers, but if I do a cover, it might be fun to do, like, a couple of metal songs or a couple of, like, punk rock songs. We'll see where it goes. Cami Lee asks, what would you recommend to somebody who has previous musical experience but no wind experience, other than maybe some bad recorder encounters in 2nd grade, who might want to try playing clarinet? First of all, I don't know anybody who's ever had a good experience playing recorder in 2nd grade. Like, I don't think there's any 2nd grader walking away from that experience being like, yeah, 10 out of 10 would do again. But aside from that, I would recommend, if you're a musician, find a piece of clarinet music that you really, really like. In my other video, there should be a link to a document that I made that has a whole array of clarinet repertoire. Familiarize yourself with the repertoire, familiarize yourself with, well-known soloists, orchestral players. Take a look at all the other clarinet YouTube channels that are out there. Listen to clarinet recitals. Just listen to as much clarinet music as you want, and sort of try to identify what you like about the instrument. Also, I don't know if you saw this, but Lewis commented on your comment saying, "Do it." So also just do it. So that's all you guys have given me. I'm gonna keep this video up for the next couple days, so if you have any other questions, leave them below in the comments of this video. If I didn't answer a question to your liking, let me know if I need to go a little bit more in depth. There are a few videos that I've already said I'm going to do longer videos on, which were like actually on my list already, like how to have like an effective practice session, how to learn hard music quickly, just things that people have asked about sort of consistently. I'm going to do a longer video on those. Oh, reeds are another one that I'm going to do a longer video on. So, yeah, so thank you again so much for commenting. If you have any more questions, leave them below, and I will do another Q&A video maybe in a couple weeks, or maybe in a month, or maybe in a couple months. We'll see how it goes. But yeah, keep commenting, keep talking amongst yourselves. If you have any tips, tricks, or ideas, also leave them below. Start talking to each other. Everyone in the comments is really nice, and I think a few of you have already become friends, so I just think that's awesome. So yeah, like and subscribe and share and all that stuff, and most importantly, go practice.